Okay, final question for today. Hey Merja, the other day I was speaking with a friend of mine on Zoom about our hard-earned wisdoms and how some things have to be learned through experience. Can you share with us some of your most important life lessons? Okay. Whew, there's so many. I absolutely 100%, if not more, wink, subscribe to the fact that you don't actually learn anything unless you've walked through it, unless you've experienced it yourself. It's really difficult to actually learn something. You might have psychological knowledge, you might have theoretical knowledge about something, but until you're actually forced to do something, it doesn't tend to stick, so to speak. You don't have those 3 and 4 and 5 dimensional insights to the things than you do when you have, if you just read about things, than when you do if you have lived through those experiences yourself. I have several different, there are so many lessons, so many lessons that I've learned in life. One of the big ones is, just because you're related to somebody doesn't mean that they have your back. And that may sound negative, but the positive side of it is that you can choose your family. You might not be blood related to them, but there are amazing people all around the world who will support you no matter what, even though you're not related to them at all. So that's been one thing. So just because you're related to something, because you share DNA, it doesn't mean that you have to like that person or even have anything to do with that person. Because if it's not a mutually supportive relationship, then what's the point? If it's just constant power struggle, then what's the point in that? And that's been a big learning for me. I always thought before I should just, it's family, so you should just grin and bear it. But the fact of the matter is that, okay, yeah, if it's family, then maybe you should give them the benefit of the doubt to try and sort it out. But it doesn't mean that they get to abuse you just because they're related to you. So once you grow up into your own grown-up person and you start setting boundaries with your family, some people take it better, some people take it worse. But establishing yourself in the lives of as a grown-up, establishing yourself in the lives of other grown-ups, it's almost like you're getting to re-know the people that you've known all your life, and you then build a new kind of relationship as a grown-up than when you were a child. So don't stay a child. Don't continue to be the child of your parents just so that they don't have to feel uncomfortable about you being a grown-up. Be the grown-up, be the person that you are, whilst acknowledging that you're still their progeny. So that's been one thing. Another thing, since this is all about me, what are my most important life lessons? The other thing has been around forcefulness. Some years ago, it's nearly 10 years ago now, I've had horses all my adult life, and a lot of them have been rescue animals. So I've had 9 horses. Currently I've had 10 horses. Currently I have 8. 2 of them passed away last year. And with the rescue animals, I tend to get the rescue animals that are too difficult, the rescue horses that are too difficult for people to manage, because I've been working with horse and rider psychology, personality psychology for a really long time. And so it's easy for me to connect to these horses that are, impossible and whatever. But anyhow, so I tend to end up with rescues that can be a bit of a handful initially. And horses, you can't force them. So they are 500, 600 kilos of their own will. And if you scare them, if you force them, they will lash out, or they will, do whatever they need to do to get out of that situation. And about 10 years ago, I had one of my horses, Annie, whom I still have. I had just finished with her. She was just getting used to, I was finishing a session with her. She was just getting used to her legs being touched. For horses, if you don't know about this, if horses get their feet stuck somewhere, they know they're going to die. Like it's hardwired within them, because they know that if they get stuck from their legs, then a predator is going to outrun them and catch them and kill them and eat them. So horses are very protective. Even the modern horses are very protective of their feet. So you might see horses go like, oh my God, over puddles and stuff, because they can't see what might be there that might be catching them. Now, so I was just finished with the session with Annie, and I just let her go from the halter. And then I remembered, I didn't pick her feet. I didn't clean her feet, her hooves. And then I went in there with the hoof pick, and I went like, I'm just going to do this real quick before I go to work. So instead of just leaving her to it or catching her again and doing it again in time, I went there and I'm just going to do this really quickly. And I yanked her leg up, and she turned around and kicked me in the head. And that to me was a big, big wake up call to the fact that I am very forceful when I'm not connected to the emotions of the other person. So it's like I'm just pushing through. And that's been another thing, because if you keep pushing through, so if you don't allow yourself to relax in the ebbs and flows of life, and you don't allow yourself to relax in the moods of other people, and just like build the relationships together as opposed to make the relationships be what you want them to be, if you don't do those things, then life becomes very hard. You have to keep pressing forward. You have to keep pushing everything. And that's very difficult. That's a very unsustainable way of living. And as a result of that, I ended up with, stalkers. I ended up with a head injury. I ended up with all kinds of things. When you try to push things that aren't meant to be. So those would be kind of my top two. So family doesn't mean that you have to be abused. You can choose your family, as well as don't push through life. Try and relax into the ebb and flow of life, and try and kind of just flow downstream rather than trying to swim upstream all the time. Life becomes so much easier and so much more joyous when you do. So I hope that answers that question satisfactorily. What are your most important life lessons? I'd love to hear from you. I look forward to reading your comments in the comments section of this video. And I look forward to talking with you soon again. You have a really great day, and take care of yourself.